When we come back, we'll still talk about the fives of the centers. Larry Sanders, 6'10", 220-pounder, coming out after his junior year from Virginia Commonwealth. That and more coming up here in Chicago.
Checks.
Welcome back to the Windy City for the 2010 NBA Draft Combine here at the Attack Athletics Training Center. Well, 45 minutes to go in today's coverage. And Larry Sanders, we talked about the 6'10", 220-pounder. Jay Williams, take us through his, break down his game for us.
Well, I remember watching him when he played with Eric Maynor, and they were great in a screen and roll scenario. And he loves to run. He's a guy who can get out in the breaks. He's very explosive. He has a really good leaping ability. He can grab rebounds. He kind of has that motor that we were talking about earlier with Jarvis Renardo, his ability just to get the ball, having to not get the ball around the rim. I think at times he really goes for head fakes. He leaves his feet really early. We were talking about Jarvis Renardo having the ability to wait for the player to leave his feet and then blocking the shot. But I also think at times the perimeter, he doesn't really push to finish plays. But things he does extremely well. I mean, he can block shots. All right, he does understand how to use his body. And also, he's improved his offensive game around the basket. He can kind of turn, he can face, he has a different array of moves. He can utilize the left hand a little bit as well, a little soft hook shot. I think he has a chance to be a special player. He's a guy who's still growing into his body, still can put on weight, but he has all the attributes of being a center, somebody that can really have explosiveness and have a long career in the NBA.
Yeah, he certainly has the athletic skill, and I think the reason why his offense developed better because he didn't have Eric Maynor delivering him the ball where he needed to. But on the defensive end, it kind of surprises me because when I saw him during the Colonial Athletic Association championship a couple of years ago that he and Maynor's team won, Virginia Commonwealth, he was outstanding in blocking shots. In fact, he set the tone early with the shot blocks. But to see him leaving his feet and then be a little bit over-anxious may be a sign of, again, a little bit of that NBA anxiety trying to show off.
And you know, I think one of the things that's a great point is if you're a big man, and especially if you're not a skilled big man, and you don't have a point guard who can get you the ball in a position to score. I mean, Ed Davis struggled with that this year. Right. I think he would have had a completely different season if Ty Lawson was running the point for North Carolina. He would have averaged 6 points more a game just on lobs that he would have gotten for dunks. Yep. Larry Sanders struggled a little bit more without Eric Maynor. On the other hand, then you see a guy like DeMarcus Cousins. He's got John Wall running the point. He's getting the ball in a position to succeed. And I especially think for some of these guys who are athletic but not so skilled, they need that point guard to be able to get them the ball in the right place. Derek Favors also struggled this year for that same reason at Georgia Tech.
Are you supporting Jay when you said the big guys need guards?
They need each other. It's a team game, guys. It's a team game. It's a team game, guys.
Come on, Chad. Don't retract.
They need each other.
I said Sanders was 6'10". I saw the graphic there. He's listed at 6'9". It also said power forward. He's working with the fives. Does he play center or power forward at the NBA level?
I think sometimes it's interchangeable.
Yeah.
You know, centers will step out 15 feet, knock down jump shots. Power forwards will do the dirty work inside. Defensively, he might man the middle as opposed to maybe a center who doesn't have the same athletic skill. So, I mean, I think at that position it's interchangeable.
I think it's becoming very interesting now because now we're seeing a lot of power forwards who are able to put the ball down on the ground, to shoot the three. Will he be able to have the quickness laterally and the mentality as far as basketball IQ to guard on the perimeter if he were to switch in that pick and roll scenario?
I think if you're in the East and you're drafting, you're saying, okay, does he play center? Does he guard Dwight Howard? That's really what you got to look at. And
exactly.
And that's what I'm saying. So that's why I think, certain situations he may play center, he may play power forward. It's almost like Sam Dallenberg, great shot blocker with it, but he has a hard time guarding a Dwight Howard, where Kendrick Perkins, a wider body, does a much better job guarding Kendrick Perkins.
Solomon Alabi here from Florida State. He was projected as a possible top 10 pick. Productive season, not really a top 10 guy right now, but your thoughts on Solomon?
Well, Alabi is one of those guys, again, that, you know, he's shown the ability to block shots, to take up the middle. He's got a high IQ for the game. With that system, Leonard Hamilton's system, very controlled offense. They play terrific defense, probably one of the top defensive teams in the country because of Alabi as well as Chris Singleton, but they couldn't put the ball in the basket. The big thing about Alabi playing center is that he is so read thin sometimes. He can get moved off the blocks. He can get his legs pushed out from under him. And you know, in the league, Defensive players are going to do their homework early, get their forearm in you, and start walking you off that lane. He's long, and he could present some problems if you allow him on the block. So that's one of the few guys that I say probably needs to put on weight. Yeah, he looks pretty cut right there, but I think it's not his upper body. It's his lower body. He's got to widen his base, as you say, get that center of gravity stronger.
The one thing I like about him, you talk a lot about big guys. Oftentimes they don't have great motors. Alabi has a great motor. He's got to play hard.
Alabi. They kept reminding me of that too, because I ran the problem earlier by calling him the same thing, but it's Alabi.
I think I started off by calling him Alabi, so I'm the guilty party here.
It's your fault.
I don't want to get any letters from his coach or his mother, or even worse, the SID at Florida State, Chuck Walsh.
The big man's delivering assists.
I can do that too.
He can do it all.
But he plays hard. He's got the size to be an NBA center. He looks like he has the frame to put on more weight.
Yeah.
And a lot of scouts will say that he's further along than Hasheem Thabeet was at the same age.
Yeah.
And he went number 2 in the draft and then didn't play at all.
But that may hurt people a little bit when you talk about potential.
Yeah.
Then you draft a big guy that you expect to come in and play right away, and maybe he doesn't. But not to take anything away from the Connecticut Husky program, I think again playing under a guy like Leonard Hamilton, who is so defensively focused, puts him ahead of the game in many ways, and understanding how to get to position, not necessarily blocking shots, but how to get to positions. And also, again, a smart guy who's worked on his offense a little bit. He can shoot it if he's not, pushed off the block. He's got that jump hook, and he's got a little bit of a turnaround jump shot.
Lynn, I think you bring up a great point, and I remember my rookie year just finally understanding how physical the NBA game really was, especially down low on the blocks. There were a couple of times I came down there and got my head knocked off.
You should have asked some of the big men.
There we go.
But, you see guys like Solomon Alabi, you see Jarvis Bernardo, you see Larry Sanders, Hassan Whiteside, who I'm sure we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes. All these guys are tall, athletic, great motors, but very thin and don't have that strong base. Until they gather that strong base, you wonder how much playing time they're really going to be able to get on the next level.
And the one thing is, how many of these guys will be able to get that base? Because there's a lot of guys people drafted think, okay, we'll put weight on them, they'll get bigger, and they never did.
But part of it is his technique also, and one of the things that I've seen that maybe Alabi can work on is when you're demanding the ball inside, lower your center of gravity, get down, low man wins, demand the ball once you get it, because it's harder to push you off the block when you got that low center of gravity as opposed to standing straight up and asking for the ball like a lot of guys do.
You compare him to Jerome Jordan, who we haven't talked about. Jerome Jordan, bigger body, more skilled offensively, doesn't have that heartbeat, doesn't have that motor. It seems like that's the case with big men, right? You're either missing one or the other, and if you have both, they're the #1 pick in the draft.
Exactly. Or two.
Or three.
Well, we're in day 1 of our 2-day coverage here on ESPNU of the 2010 NBA Draft Combine. John Wall, about a month and a few days away from becoming the first pick in the NBA draft, going to the Washington Wizards. When we come back, we'll talk more centers. And Art Parakowski, Jay and I got a chance to see him in the tournament up in Radford a couple of years ago. This guy put up some big numbers against some Power 6 schools. He's on deck.